Welcome, welcome everybody to the next edition of the Stay in Course podcast. Today I have Debbie Simmons, and she is a legacy architect, a keynote speaker, best-selling author, and founder of Anchor Point, a multi-million-dollar nonprofit. She created the architecture of trust to help high-capacity leaders rebuild their foundations when success starts to feel heavy. After walking through profound loss and leadership pressure, Debbie turned her breaking point into a blueprint. And today she helps and equips CEOs and founders to lead with trust that holds not hustle and helps them not to burn out. Welcome, Debbie, to the Stay on Course podcast.
Hey, I'm glad to be here with you guys today.
Awesome, awesome. And today we are going to explore the foundation of trust and how this shapes our leadership and growth. So if you're feeling tension despite the success you've already had, this episode will help you regain and rise higher. Debbie, before we get started, I ask all of my guests, what is your favorite food?
Well, my favorite food, even though I don't get to eat it that often, is cheesecake. I absolutely love cheesecake, but it's not my friend.
Do you like it? Like, is there a flavor that you like?
I like just plain
Plain
cheesecake with a
cheesecake.
good graham cracker crust.
Yes, yes. Well, we're going to talk about the architecture of trust and
Mhm.
where you place it, how it determines your growth. Why is trust so important to you before we get into all the ingredients of success?
Yeah, here's the deal. When we think of I love to explain like what the architecture of trust is, and then
Yeah.
that's why it matters to me. So if I was to explain it to you in words that people go, "Oh, I get it," the architecture of trust is about asking one question, and it's what is your life really built on, and
Mm,
will it hold when pressure hits? Because every habit, every relationship or decision is anchored in what we trust.
mm,
So if we trust the wrong things, like control or approval or hustle, it will eventually collapse. But if
mm,
we build on God's voice, healthy systems, and obedience, we create a foundation that'll hold up under pressure and leave a legacy.
mm,
So here's what I know. I know as I have been called into more and more impactful roles throughout my life and opportunities that I've had come up, all of the things that have gotten me, the things that I've trusted to get me to certain levels will not take me to my new level. Okay. So, I trusted control and hustle for a long, long time. And then that was fine as long as I personally was 100%. Then I could count on those things, right?
yeah.
Well, about 5 years ago, I shut a truck door on my leg and got a big hole in it and got an infection that took me out. And guess what? My control and my hustle couldn't hold. That system didn't work because I was injured. And so
Right.
it made it a real difficult thing for us to struggle as a team to figure out how to get there. And what that means is I was trusting control and hustle, and it would not get me to the next level. So if I wanted to take it to the next level, even if I wasn't 100%, I had to figure out how to get things that I could trust, structure, systems, people in place that would allow us to still thrive, even though I wasn't 100%. And
Mm,
that's tough because I like control and hustle. And then
yeah.
and
Well,
yeah, and the world tells us that's what you need to be successful, right? They cheer that on, but an injury takes that out completely. So that's why this trust concept, because it's not a feeling, it is structural in nature. Is we trust the chair we sit in, and so we trust structures, and they've gotten us places, but they won't get us to the next ones. And so that's why it's really important to me for people to understand that, to be able to be all that they can be.
yeah. I want to dissect this just a little bit because I'm
Mhm.
feeling like when you're talking about trust, there's all these different places that we put trust. But
Mhm.
one of the things that I think we're talking about is almost the trust that we have in our own self and how that kind of shows up. So Talk about that. Let's talk about that part. Let's talk about ourselves first, like trusting in ourselves, because what you said here is like, okay, we're not going to be able to trust the hustle or these other things now that we maybe have gotten an injury. And that was really all about ourselves. It's more of like an allowing or a believing kind of trust that is outside of ourselves to get the stuff done. So,
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is exactly right. Do I believe that I can do what I do? This is a mindset game. Okay. And do I believe I'm called to do the things? Now, when I know that I want to accomplish certain objectives, then I have to go, okay, I believe it. I can do it. I can work on all the mind games that I need to work on to be able to do it. But the truth is that as I move forward, what I'm going to find is pressure is going to come.
yeah.
And I might say that, oh, I trust my people. Okay. But pressure comes. And what do? I want to take control, right? Because I want to make sure it doesn't fall apart. And then what I'm really revealing is what I actually trusted. So I think that, you can know and believe and cheer yourself on and trust that, that I have no problem. I've built all kinds of things, right? And over the years, I've been successful. So I know that I know how to do it. The problem is, as a lot of times we get promoted to our highest level of incompetence as you get in this area, and we still have to be willing to grow and change. And so this isn't about doubting our ability. It really is, okay, what do we need to adjust so that we can be successful at the next level? Because it looks very different to lead a startup nonprofit and then lead one that makes millions a years, millions of dollars a year that we invest into people. That's a very different organization. And I can't be the same leader. Now, do I believe I can do all those things? Yeah, I believe I could start it, and I believe I can run it, and I believe I can, build it so it can sustain itself. So that's all the trust that I have
Yeah.
in me. But then how does it play out?
Right. Because, okay, so there's like, when it comes to leadership, we need to trust that we've set up the right systems and we've set up the right playbooks to lead our organizations. I just got off the phone with someone. We were talking about leadership playbooks and how to run your operations, because at some point, you need to get out of the inn. You need to get out
Yeah.
of the inn, like working in the business, and you need to start working on the business. So, as the leader of that business, the small business or even like larger businesses, we need to get into a place where we can build a team and trust that team, trust that we set that structure up
Mhm.
so that they do the work that they're supposed to be doing. And we hired them because we like them, we trust them, and we believe that they're going to provide value for our teams. But this is all about trust, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And the other interesting thing is, I think we have to have a lot of grace with ourselves and everybody in this process. All if the system breaks a little bit, let's say I think I'm trusting in this playbook, and this playbook was how it's supposed to go. Pressure comes and some staff member doesn't perform via the playbook or whatever it
Yeah.
is that, that's not the end. All it is it's time to tweak and go again, and it will work its way out.
Sure.
So if we're supposed to trust the system, what broke, why didn't it work, and then let's figure out how to make it work the next time. That is what growth is. So I don't, I love the concept of failing forward by John Maxwell, in that you're going to learn, it's not going to be perfect, make adjustments and everything. So if I am a person who is a control freak, which I'm a control freak, and I want to get my hands on something, and I'm going to let the staff do it, so I release it. I still have to deal with the fact that my vagus nerve is lit up, and I'm trying to calm myself down, and at the same time, letting them do it differently so that we can grow them and they can learn what they're trusting in. This is a journey that we go on together. So
Mhm.
it's not something that stops. It's something that we're growing in all the time, in
Yeah.
everything, in our personal relationships, in our work relationships, in our spiritual faith kind of relationships. All these types of things. We trust different ways to do it. I think one of the clearest ones, you and I are both parents, is, when my kid turns 18 and they're moving into adulthood, there's certain things I'd like to control. Well, guess what? I can't trust that anymore. So I have to trust that I have placed in that child the things that they need to be able to be successful. Or how can I give them tools? Because I can't just control it anymore.
No, it's so hard. It's so,
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing. I think that's the worst part of parenting is like the relinquishing of the control or,
Mhm.
because there's so many things going on in the world that we can't control. We just want to make sure they're okay. That's all. I mean, so let's get back into this. Some of the ingredients for success for building this trust, like tell me what you would say for ingredients for success.
Okay. First of all, you got to know what you're trusting. Okay. So the first thing is literally just stop and figure out what you're actually doing. The biggest problem that most of us have is we don't stop and think. We just act by default. And our brain is not going to go, okay, let's perform the new way. Our brain is going to go back to what it remembered doing before when the pressure came.
Yeah.
And it's going to do that. Okay. And so we've got to interrupt this cycle. So take 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and just think about the last time the pressure was on. Or if you're not thinking about it, guess what? When it happens again, think about it then, right? But you're going to get the opportunity to figure out, like, when the pressure comes, what do I do?
Mm.
And that is going to be important. And I would tell you that there's some pretty common ones for entrepreneurs and business owners and stuff like that. Hustle is one. Okay. Do I just work harder? All right. Control, like me. I gotta clamp down, micromanage, do all that type of thing. Silence. So sometimes we're just quiet and let it kind of go on.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the best. Outcomes, numbers that we're looking for. We're trying to always hit the goal. Urgency and self-reliance. Those are the most common ones. Okay.
Mm.
Now, those won't work for us forever, but if we can name it, I love the thought. If we can name it, then we can tame it. Okay. So if I go, my issue is I break into hustle mode. Okay. Well, that's great as long as you can show up 100%. But if you can't, and if we want to grow bigger, you can't be the cog in the wheel. What do we need to put in place so that you don't default into hustle?
Mm.
Okay. And then that might be empowering a staff. It might be creating a system. It might be
Charging more for your services.
Exactly. That could very well be. That's a good one. Yeah. So, but what is it that I need to put in place? Okay. And then the deal is I always encourage people, whether it's a coach, it's a spouse, it's a friend, tell them what you are working on. So I tend to default into hustle mode when the pressure comes up. And if I don't see it, I want you to point it out to me. And I trust that you love me and you'll create a safe environment and I'll hear you and hopefully I'll listen well. But I want to change that. And so sometimes we just need people. My husband's wonderful at doing that. He's like, Debbie, have you thought about this? And I'm like, yes, I'm working on that. But telling people will help get it out there in the open and help us make sure that we are making those adjustments that we need to make.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much here. What else? What other ingredients you want to share?
Well, I think the other big thing is be brave. Okay. The biggest thing for all of us is once we figure this out, we're like, it's never going to survive if I do this. It's just never going to survive. And the truth is the difference between courageous and fearful, the feelings are all the same. The only difference is the courageous person does it anyway.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, you're not going to get out of the emotional, like, it's going to happen, but just go, I am going to do this. And this is for the better of me, the better of the company, the better of my family, and it's worth it. So just jump off that cliff. You've made the best plans, jump off the cliff. And then, if it doesn't work exactly right, tweak it. Because that's what we're going to do. We'll tweak it and we're going to try it again. This is life. So
yeah, I'm just trying to think about this a little bit more because it's one of these things when you think about trust, there's so many applications of like what this looks like. And I was just talking on a coaching call last week, and I was talking about us closing ourselves on what we do. Like, you know how we as small business owners, we have a service to offer. We talk about closing our clients or signing the agreement so that they can work forward with us. But the idea here is that if you haven't closed yourself on your own product and service, like,
Mhm.
and meaning that, like, if you don't trust that your product or service is so good and
Mhm.
so valuable to other people, that why wouldn't they want to work with you? Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that kind of gets to, okay, my inner alignment is not the same with my outer alignment. They're not synced. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to do this, but inside I'm still questioning whether I can even do that. I remember, when I released my first book, The Heart of Legacy, and it has a lot of my personal story in it, and how Anchor Point was formed and stuff like that. And I was like, eh, why are people going to read that?
Yeah.
It's just my story, and I was shocked at how moved people were by it. Okay. I
Mm.
mean, just moved by it. And they just had the most wonderful things to say. And I was like, oh, it is doing good. And but how much more powerful would it have been if I could have been confident in that from the beginning,
Yeah.
and putting it out there and walking it out there. Now, I will tell you that I did it with courageousness, because I was like, I don't know, so I just
Yeah.
went ahead and did it anyway. And so a lot of times we have to do that to get ourselves to a place where we believe that's fine. Do it again, do it again. And I think of, like, when you talk about closing and stuff like that. Well, if we never try it, then we're never going to close it. Right. And
Right.
so put it out there. And then even though you got imposter syndrome, you're going to eventually get it, because you're tweaking and you're learning to trust yourself, and you're learning, like for me, I was like, oh, this book, this story has value,
Yeah.
and it's worth it. And people need to hear my story and can learn from it and can grow from it. And it's valuable to people. And that's going to happen because we learn to tweak it. And that's where I love this fact that this is always about a journey. It's never just an end game. We never get to the end. Well, we do when we die, but we never, it's just you're always growing and we're always learning. This is what entrepreneurs are great at. They
Yeah.
love to kind of get in that mess and kind of go, okay, let's figure it out. People go, what's it like to work for your organization, the nonprofit? I'm like, well, I'd like you to come in. And when you come in, I'd like for you to understand our chaos. Don't change
Yeah.
anything, just understand it and make sure the ship keeps going. And then I want you to start making suggestions and helping us grow and stuff like that. Because I said, here's what we do. We have chaos, we make order, and then what do? I go expand the organization, or we go make more impact, and it makes it chaotic and messy again. And we get the structure to do that. And that's just all building the systems we can trust. And so that, I love the thought that it's a journey, and that it's not about perfection. It's about humility and growing and being willing to learn, and helping each other along the way is, what makes it sweet.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about your nonprofit. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, so the nonprofit that God had me start, because it wasn't on my yes thing, but I got there eventually, was it is a nonprofit that gives families hope, and we do that by our Obria Medical Clinic, which works with young girls who are struggling. Maybe they found out they're pregnant and they're overwhelmed, and medically they don't have insurance. What do they do? And we service them there, but then we also have another location that works with them on a case management type thing. So what does it take to help you? Because most of us would say, as parents, none of us got a instruction manual when those kids came, and the kids were the instruction manuals. So a lot of people are overwhelmed with parenting, because I just don't know what to do. And so
Yeah.
we come along and we case manage and we walk alongside of them and we help them figure their way. And whether it's, education, material assistance, resources, trying to figure out the medical system is like chaos for people if
Yeah.
you just have never tried to work it. And then we have a maternity home for girls who are homeless and pregnant and are in need of housing. And then we work with them 24/7 for about 18 months to 2 years. And our goal is, how can we set you up for success for you and the baby to be able to be a productive citizen, take care of your kid, and make a difference? And then we have our community initiatives, which look at our therapeutic camps for families that have kids that are struggling and they're going, I don't know what to do with that kid. We bring them in and work with the family and help them figure out how they can trust each other and how they can figure their way together as a family unit. And we do recovery ministry for sexual abuse or abortion or trauma.
Wow. That's a lot of help you're giving. What state are you at? Are you local to a specific place?
We're in Houston, Texas. So yeah, so we
Okay.
do. Yeah.
You do
So
that
we get,
locally.
all kinds of things you can think about. Education. We just want to lift the tide of parenting because we know our communities are only as strong as our weakest families. And our goal is to give them all hope and let's figure out how to make our way in the world. And it's a blessing to be able to do that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. How long have you been doing that?
Well, I got the privilege of starting that from scratch, and that was 15 years ago. So,
Oh my gosh. It's
mhm,
amazing.
mhm.
That's amazing. And then tell us what you're working on with your leadership business.
Yes. So, one of the things that we are branching into is a seminar that we call Success to Significance. And
Oh,
this is for leaders who are trying to figure their way. So, in the world's eyes, they're successful. They got the hustle, the control, they got all those things. But you know what? They're sitting there and inside they're going, is this all there is to life? Is this all there is, or is there more? But because by the world standards, they're successful. And so this success to significance seminar actually carves out a beautiful space for us to sit and think about, like, what does significance mean to me? And where do I feel like I might be being led to do or have more influence and impact? And then, because that's the internal alignment and the external being misaligned kind of in a positive way. It's, hey, I'm operating in a success system, but I have a calling for significance, right? And so this gives leaders a proactive way to sit down, think through that, get alignment, get clarity, and then we come out of that with a vision day to develop movement and how they can begin to walk that significance out in their life. And for each, some people go, I don't want to take it because you're going to make me quit my job. I'm like, no, you don't have to quit your job. You may be doing the same exact thing, but you're doing it now because you're aligned.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
love that.
we don't stop and think. And so this is just a sweet space to carve that out and challenge us because our lives run at 100 miles an hour. And as leaders, we don't stop. And this just allows us to be proactive and do it.
I love it. I love it. Where can my audience find out more about you?
Sure. They can go to thedebbieSimmons.com. And then if they want the success to significance, it's successandsignificance.net is where they can learn about that webinar. And then if they want the book that I was talking about, I'd love to give that to your guests for free. That's theheartoflegacy.com. They just go on there and it's about how did they become a focused, faithful, and fearless leader. And it's got wonderful tips in there for what you can do for your next step.
All right. Well, thank you, Debbie, so much for being a guest on the Stay on Course podcast.
Yes, and blessings to all your listeners. And hopefully they're brave and courageous and take that next step.